Senator Johnson introduces the Secure Border First Act of 2015. Do you expect to have bipartisan support for this legislation, or is this a real chance for the new Senate majority to cast the proper agenda in terms of Homeland Security and border security?
Well, let me say, J.D., we certainly should have bipartisan support for finally securing our border. I mean, I know the public supports it. They've been demanding it for decades, and of course, the political process has never given that to the American public. So, listen, the mission statement of our committee under my chairmanship is pretty simple. It's to enhance the economic and national security of America. If you want to keep this nation safe, we need to defeat ISIS. We need to secure our border. But basically, what we've done is we've introduced Chairman McCall's we've introduced a companion bill to Chairman McCall's bill. They're working that in the House. We'll be doing a lot of work on it in the Senate.
And so Mike McCall, who chairs the corresponding committee in the House, has his own bill. Now, I don't mean to get too inside baseball, but I look at your co-sponsors, John Cornyn of Texas, a border state, Jeff Flake, my old Arizona colleague, of course, and people can change positions, and I know you want to bring people together. But Jeff Flake, part of that gang of 8 that pushed through what many consider to be amnesty. Your strategy in terms of attracting co-sponsors, and are you worried that rather than bringing people together, some of the security items in this bill may be shunted aside for a more indulgent amnesty type approach?
No, I'm really not worried because I am chairman of the committee and I'll have a fair amount of control over what the output's going to be. But, I am going to certainly look to people like Senator Flake and Senator Cornyn and Chairman McCall, because they've been dealing with this issue, and certainly Chairman McCall's been drafting and crafting bills for a while. And so I'm going to look to their expertise, but I'm also reaching out to the Department of Homeland Security. I know Secretary Johnson has worked up a plan in terms of border security. So I have many things to learn. I don't have a whole lot to unlearn. So I'm going to bring my business background, my manufacturing ability to solve problems to this process, and it starts with first recognizing reality. That's what we're going to be holding hearings on, and then we will set achievable goals. So I'm really going to bring a fresh pair of eyes to this process. But boy, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Where there's some really good prescriptive items that we can employ to secure the border, I want to utilize those things. So, but this is a starting point, and we will spend a fair amount of time in the Senate. Working not only in my committee, but also working with Senator Grassley at Judiciary to make sure that we combine a border security and immigration enforcement provision, because you really need to combine both.
And Ron, as you mentioned that, we've had a cavalcade of guests, border hawks, and for purposes of full disclosure, I guess you can count me among them. One criticism has been, why don't we just call it the Secure the Border Act rather than Secure the Border First? Because so often it seems that the other priority about some sort of integration of illegals into our society somehow leapfrogs what should be the top priority, which is border security, which is getting this immigration system running right. Are you concerned? Again, I know you control the committee, but I also know with leadership in both houses, will there be another temptation by some and the open border forces to put the cart before the horse and dismiss the security component that you say is so vital?
No, listen, I understand your concern there, but I think the title, and that was Chairman McCall, it was his title, I think it was really trying to point out that this is the first thing we have to do. We have to secure the border as opposed to comprehensive reform. Listen, we have a problem with our immigration system, and we do have to fix it. But I think this is really the title just calling out the fact, the reality that this is the first step in any kind of immigration reform, and we have to do it first. And so that's certainly what I'm concentrated on, is securing our border, making sure we enforce our immigration laws. And part of that process is taking a look and reforming our immigration laws to make sure we end or certainly drastically reduce the incentives for illegal immigration. So, no, I understand your concerns. I'm trying to relieve you of them.
Fair enough. It's a process that can be tough. Governing and legislating is tough business. A minute remains. One other note on the Homeland Security front, visas. Does your bill deal with a crackdown on visas and that whole question?
Well, I think that's going to be more in the judiciary and the immigration enforcement area. It's something we need to take a look at, and certainly from a standpoint of who do we let in this country, what kind of controls, how do we work with our partners overseas in terms of their security systems. I mean, all of those things need to be carefully considered, and we'll be taking a look at all of that.
Well, and we will continue to monitor your efforts. Ron Johnson, you have been a great friend of this program. We always appreciate your availability, again, as you work as the new chairman of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security. And you and Senators Flake and Cornyn have introduced what Mike McCall has already introduced in the House, the Secure the Border First Act of 2015. We will continue to monitor its progress, and we look forward to having you back real soon. America's Forum will continue right after this Newsmax Now update.